we're going to talk about remediation. We want to make all of the visibility, whether it's things like cross-account, privilege escalation, over-permissioning, inactivity, right? What can I do about some of those over-permissioned state of the identities in my environment? So within the CloudKnox console, we have what we refer to as the JEP controller, the just enough privilege controller. This is where we can perform some of our remediation functions. One thing I always want to emphasize is most of these capabilities, all of these capabilities, are available via API. And we'll talk about how to operationalize these, how to ingest this data downstream, and I'll make reference to that as well. This particular workflow that I'm going to show you will help give you the full context around remediation, but please note that there is other ways, and what I mean by other ways, right? There's APIs, there's automated jobs that you can run, but this particular workflow will do a good job demonstrating what's really going on under the hood, right? What does this remediation look like? So let me just start by creating a custom policy. So in the context of AWS, we would be creating a custom policy. Now, I'm in this workflow to invoke remediation, right? Now, I've likely been driven here because I've received an alert, or in some analysis of a report, I've noted that I've got some over-permissioned users, over-permissioned roles, groups, Lambda functions, whatever drove me here, right? This workflow will allow me to create a policy, a custom policy based on the actual used activity, right? Detach any policies where the identity is attributing their over-permissioned state, right? And so let me just start that workflow just to give you some full context into this. So for example, if I were to look at the activity of a user, okay, I can do a look back on what they've actually done over the last 90 days, okay? I can pick a particular user, let me pick on Maya, I click on next. Now what this is showing me here is you can see that this selected task, this 374, this is what Maya's actually done over the last 90 days. These are the permissions she's used, right? This 9,037, this is what she has available to her, right? So this workflow, what it's going to drive you towards is creating a custom policy based on the actual activity. I'm going to create a custom policy based on these 374 permissions that Maya's actually utilized, and I'm going to drop those other 9,037 that she hasn't used, right? Why leave them there? Should Maya do something accidentally, or should Maya's account get compromised? So when I click on the next button, what you're going to see is that we break down these policies into different statements. Okay, so in the context of AWS, these are all in a JSON format, the different statements, but you can easily modify these policies, refine them even further, right? In its current state, this is the activity-based policy, but if I want to take, for example, I want to look at S3 write actions and I want to take away or add some additional permissions to this custom policy, I can do this. But in its current state, this is my right-sized policy, my least privileged policy that's based on the activity. Okay, so when I click on next, the system's going to produce the JSON. Okay, this is the actual AWS policy format that I can copy and paste this directly into my AWS environment. I can also take this policy and commit it directly to the AWS account. It's just a matter of what permissions do you want to give that Sentry controller that we spoke about earlier in the presentation. Some organizations will start by just taking the JSON, that least privilege policy we created, they'll apply the policy into the environment directly, they'll attach the policy themselves. In certain cases, and even over time, a lot of environments will then go to the next step where they'll let CloudKnox commit the policy into their environment, detach the current policies where they're attributing those over-permission states, and attach this right-sized custom policy that we created. Okay, now again, just to emphasize, this workflow is one way to do this. There's you can do this via API. We have a Terraform provider, right? So as you're building out infrastructure and you want to call a least privilege policy utilizing the Terraform provider, you can do that. We have other automated jobs. Those other automated jobs are on-demand or semi-autonomous, autonomous rules-based remediation, right? So you decide, look, I want you every week to go out and look for inactive roles, over permissioned roles, deactivated access keys, right? All the different rules. And what we'll do is we'll send you a digest and a summary of what we find. And you can go ahead and choose to invoke those automated rules. Again, they can run either on demand, we'll generate the recommendations, we'll generate them on a specific set of time, and you just choose, pick and choose. We'll come back with an interactive digest, and you decide what you want to invoke, and we'll go out and we'll just do it automatically. Again, it's just all dependent on how you permission that Sentry controller that sits in your environment today.